Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus reports. Today is June 14th, 2023, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
Hello out there. This is Ben Dickerson. I am your co-host. Mandatory mini camps just took place or are taking place. I think they're only like a week long. There seemed to be a little bit of an uproar about the New York Jets canceling theirs. Now it turns out the Buffalo Bills have also canceled theirs. We'll have a lot more to talk about the Buffalo Bills later on, but let me just say this. Did I or did I not get off the bandwagon just in time? There's trouble in Buffalo, folks. Madden curse is real.
Only time will tell. Only time will tell. We shall see. You did jump off the bus, though, big time. You know, hope you didn't hurt yourself when you jumped, because that bus,
not at all.
That bus is moving.
I landed very gently in Cincinnati.
Did you land very gently in Cincinnati? Well, you heard my man Joe Burrow, when they asked him who's the best quarterback, he said, well, it's got to be Patrick.
Said, that's great. Honesty is a great attribute.
You know, he says it's got to be Patrick. So, you know. But I didn't know that they canceled mini camp, and because I heard that he was back in camp with them.
They had 2 days of mini camp and called the rest off.
Well, I heard he was back in camp with them.
He was here today.
Okay. And so he made it back today, and then they canceled the rest of it.
Are we going to talk about Stefon Diggs?
No, I'm just the whole concept of canceling camp. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, he was there. He was there today.
So he was there. Okay, so yes. That's where I got.
And after it was over, it's been called off now.
Called off. That's very interesting. So that's the second team, right? The Jets were the first team to do it.
Yes.
They're on the other team, and then now the Bills. And the Jets basically said, you know, I think these guys have put in enough time. I want to give them some rest. Like, he chose that, you know? So I think – because you also had all those voluntary camps and all of that stuff. So they've actually been doing stuff. And it's not like they haven't been doing anything.
Right. And they had very good attendance.
Yeah.
It's different.
They are showed up.
Yeah, right. Like when they have the voluntary stuff, a lot of times the veterans don't show. But I believe a good number of veterans did actually show for the voluntary stuff. And couple that with the fact that they are going to play in the Hall of Fame game, which means they have to report to real training camp in July, a week ahead of everybody else.
So who do they play?
Do you know? You know what? I forget. For some strange reason, I think it's the Steelers, but I could be wrong. We'll have to look that up.
I'm going to check that out, because you know something? I'm thinking, okay, the team that they play, did they cancel?
Probably not, but they're in the same situation.
Yeah.
Now, canceling minicamp, I cannot remember ever hearing of a team canceling their mandatory minicamp. It's only a week long. I think it kind of gives the veterans a point to mark on their calendar to say, okay, it's time. You show up for the mandatory minicamp, and then you get more time off, and then training camp begins in July. So it's not that it's that big a deal, but it seems to be something that they set for everybody put on their calendar to actually have a starting point to focus on and be prepared for the upcoming season. And like I said, I've never, ever heard, it may have happened, but I cannot recall ever hearing it happen.
Well, let me simply say, first off, the 2023 Pro Football Hall of Fame game. The Cleveland Browns will take on the New York Jets.
There you go. Okay.
8 p.m. Eastern Time, Thursday, August 3rd. So there you go. So I haven't heard about the Browns canceling anything yet.
That's just a bus ride for them.
Yeah, that's right. They're there already. You know, they're basically there. So the Bills canceled theirs, the Jets canceled theirs. We haven't heard about anybody else canceling anything. And it was just what, a week? Is their week like a business week, 5 days, or a 7-day week? Or when they say a week,
I think it was a 5-day week.
5-day week, work week.
Right. So they put in 2 days and then called it off, where the Jets completely canceled theirs.
Okay. Again, I think the Jets were very active in the voluntary space, so their coach might have a better feel, for what makes sense with them. Okay. Speaking about their coach, this is going to be the third installment of our Braintrust series, the Braintrust of the NFL. So last week we did the NFC East, and this week we move over back to the AFC for a very interesting division, the AFC North. Man, let me say, I didn't count it all up. So maybe if you get a chance in your mathematical brain, throw some of these numbers I'm going to throw at you. But the total amount of experience I know on some of these teams, it's ridiculous. It's like if you added this coaching staff up, especially with the GM in there, and some of these teams, it's got to be close to 100 years total experience. You know what I mean?
Right.
And still can't win a Super Bowl. So it's just an amazing thing. Let's get started, Benny. NFL Braintrust AFC North 2023. All right, here we go. We're going to start off with your new squad, Benny. Get to know them. You kicked the Bills to the curb and jumped into the cool waters of the Cincinnati Bengals, and this is your Braintrust now. So let's get to know them. First off, let's talk about one Duke Tobin. It got real interesting right away, starting out with Duke Tobin, because Duke Tobin actually doesn't have the title of general manager. He is what they call the de facto general manager. I think he's like in charge of player personnel or whatever, but he does all the stuff that the GM does. So he gets all of the GM credit, all right? So this is another one of those things, again, when you're dealing with these different teams, you see that their hierarchical structures are sometimes a little different. Even some of the information that if I'm at the NFL site and I go to a team, some of these teams have links where you can look up, that particular person, and some teams don't. They, the name is there, but they don't give you any link. They give you nothing. So anyway, Duke Tobin is the director of player personnel for the Cincinnati Bengals, right? A little bit about his background. Back in 94 and 95, Duke played in the Arena Football League. Now, this is the GM. This is Duke here, okay? For the Orlando Predators and the Memphis Pharaohs, okay? Played college ball at Illinois and Colorado. After his playing career, he joined the Bengals front office. His father, Bill Tobin, and Uncle Vince Tobin have both had numerous jobs with the NFL.
Yes.
Okay, I'm glad you know those names. While it's not his official title, his day-to-day duties are similar to a GM. Therefore, he is occasionally, though incorrectly, referred to as the Bengals general manager. So there you go. A bit of background in football, a lot of connections in the league, and bam, you get to be the GM or the de facto GM. Next up, we have head coach Zach Taylor. Now, Ben, first off, he's a quarterback at Butler County Community College back in 2004 and at the University of Nebraska, where he set numerous school records for passing. He passed for 5,850 yards and 45 TDs. Ben, did you know Zach Taylor was a baller like that?
Yeah, man.
Okay, I'm glad you know that. Tell me more about that. That was news to me. I didn't know he was a baller like that, especially at quarterback.
Yeah, but he was at Nebraska.
Okay, well, you can tell me what that means a little bit later. But in 2006, he was named Big 12 Offensive Player of the Year, passed for 3,197 yards, leading the Cornhuskers to a 9-3 record, an appearance in the Big 12 championship game, and a berth in the Cotton Bowl. He was inducted into the Nebraska Football Hall of Fame in 2017. In 2007, though, he signed as a college free agent with Tampa Bay Buccaneers. He was released prior to training camp. He was a quarterback with the Winnipeg Blue Bombers of the CFL, but did not play. This is one thing about that was so amazing with him. The college career that we was just talking about, all those yards, he gets to the next league, and he's not playing for anybody, right?
Happens all the time.
In 2008 to 2011, he was a graduate assistant and assistant coach for Texas A&M. Served as the offensive graduate assistant and tight ends coach under Mike Sherman. Okay. In 2012 to 15, he became the quarterbacks coach for the Miami Dolphins. 2016, he became the offensive coordinator, quarterback coach at the University of Cincinnati, jumped back to college there under one head coach, Tommy Tuberville. Tommy Tuberville has gone MAGA, if you don't know about him. He went full MAGA. 2017, he was the LA Rams wide receiver coach and quarterback coach. 2018, quarterback coach for the Rams. And then in 2019, became the head coach for the Cincinnati Bengals. So Zach was a baller in college, but at the next level, it was like nothing. Not even the CFL. That kind of freaks me out a little bit, you know? But that's just what did The Rock, he calls his XFL team the 54th man.
Right.
Yeah, for sure. Brian Callahan is the offensive coordinator. He's the man that needs to be mind melding with one Joe Burrow. We'll talk a little bit more about him. Let's see. He played quarterback at UCLA, appeared in 13 games, and was a holder on point after attempts. Got his bachelor's degree in sociology from there and a master's in education. In 2006 and 2007, he became a graduate assistant coach at UCLA. And in 2010, he became a coaching assistant for the Denver Broncos. He then moved to offensive quality control in 2011 and 12, offensive assistant from 13 to 14, offensive assistant quarterbacks coach in 15. And while there, they won 5 consecutive AFC titles from 2011 to 15 and a Super Bowl 50 victory. They got a little bit of bowl that would put them in the Hall of Fame as far as I'm concerned. Assistant coach in 2011 for the Denver Broncos. He was coaching Peyton Manning back in the day, Benny. He became an assistant coach for the Lions, was coaching one Matthew Stafford in 2016 and 17. Became an assistant quarterbacks coach for the Raiders in 18 and coached Derek Carr. This guy. And is the 2019 present offensive coordinator for one Cincinnati Bengals. And he's whispering now in Joe Burrow's ears. DC is Lou Anarumo. 23 seasons in college coaching. 23, Benny. Going back to the Merchant Marines, Wagner, he was a running back coach. Syracuse, an assistant coach. Back to the Merchant Marines as a defensive coach. Coached at Harvard. Assistant head coach at Harvard, DBs and coordinating the special teams. He coached at Marshall. He coached at Purdue. In 2017, he got with the Miami Dolphins as an interim defensive coordinator for the final 12 games of their 2015 season, and became an assistant coach for the New York Football Giants In 2018, 2019 to present, he is the defensive coordinator for the Cincinnati Bengals. So you start to see what I was talking about, 100 years of experience. I mean, Anarumo's a quarter of the way there by itself. You know what I mean? You count college. And then special teams is Darren Simmons. Another quarterback, he was a punter at Dodge City, Kansas Community College. In 1992, he led the nation's junior college in punting and was a first-team JUCO All-American. He also was an academic All-American in 95 and earned a sports management degree from Kansas. He was a punter there from 93 to 95, and then became a graduate assistant coach for Kansas and an assistant coach in 97 at the University of Minnesota. Then he jumped to the pros in 98 with the Baltimore Ravens as an assistant, special teams coach and strength and conditioning coach. In 99 to 2002, he was with the Carolina Panthers, doing pretty much the same thing. 2003 to 12, he was with the Cincinnati Bengals. And then he became the special teams coordinator in 2013, and at present is the assistant head coach / special teams coordinator. That brings that head coach thing back you were talking about last week with the special teams guys. You know, they're always first in line for that head coach job if the head coach goes down. And then finally, we talked about Brian Callahan whispering into the ear of Joe Burrow, saying, look here, Joe, just listen to me, you know. I coached a lot of guys, you know, start naming some of the names, you know, Peyton, Stafford, you know, Carr. So just listen to me and you'll be okay. Joe Burrow last year had 35 touchdowns, 12 interceptions. That's that 3-1 we like to talk about. 4,475 yards passing and a quarterback rating of 100.78. So there is, boom, your brain trust. All of that energy, all of that experience coming together for the Cincinnati Bengals. I don't know, Benny. I think you might have picked a good one. I don't know. What do you think?
I always pick a good one.
Oh,
come on, man.
Christmas. Okay, go ahead. Tell me what you think.
First of all, GM Dick Tobin. A lot of football in his background with relatives, fathers, uncles. Tobins are known for coaching mostly, but he now finds himself as the de facto GM, as you said. Zach Taylor, I believe, is one of the very, very young and very, very talented head coaches in the league right now, up there with the McVays and guys like that. Masterful offensive mind. The perfect coach for Joe Burrow, if you ask me. Brian Callahan, very accomplished offensive coordinator and very accomplished quarterback whisperer. Yes, he's been around some greats and some pretty goods. And the pretty goods he helped to get better, like the Derek Carr. Lou Anarumo. I knew the name. I couldn't remember where it was from. He did used to be on the New York Giants staff. He's a good DC. If for no other reason than this guy's been around forever. He's seen it all. He's probably tried it all. Special teams coach, as usual. A former player. Really smart. Probably a really great motivator, being a strength and conditioning coach also. And then you have Joe Burrow, who, like you said, when we first started broadcast here, he was asked who he thought was the best quarterback in the league. He said Patrick Mahomes. If you ask Patrick Mahomes who he thinks besides himself, because he'd be a fool not to say himself, because he is, we all know it, but who he thought besides himself was the best quarterback in the league, there's a real good chance he would say Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is arguably top 3 in the NFL right now. I say arguably because I could say he's in my top three or he's not in my top three. I won't say that. He is arguably top three, definitely without a doubt, top five quarterback in the NFL right now as we speak. I think Joe Burrow, Zach Taylor, and Brian Callahan are a match, a three-way match made in heaven as far as offensive football is concerned. And I believe that the Cincinnati Bengals will be back to the Super Bowl very soon.
I did give Joe Burrow the kudos. I did have this little piece that says, as a senior at LSU, just to remind people, in 2019, he compiled arguably the best season by a quarterback in college football history after he rewrote LSU, SEC, NCAA records, won the Heisman Trophy by the largest margin in the award's 85-year history, and led the team to a 15-0 record and a national championship. So just to kind of give him his full due, that's a powerful group there. All right, Benny. Well, that's who you decided to go to bed with here. You will be up against, right in your state, those Cleveland Browns. They don't want to hear about the Cincinnati Bengals. We have GM Andrew Berry. Now, Andrew Berry, listen to this, graduated cum laude from Harvard University with a bachelor's degree in economics and a master's degree in computer science. And he did all of that in 4 years.
Okay. He's smart.
He's smarter. He's smarter than the average, I don't know. He was a 4-year starter at cornerback and was a 3-time All-Ivy League team selection and an All-American honoree. So he was a baller, a corner. In 2009, he came to the Indianapolis Colts front office. He started with the Colts as a scouting assistant, was promoted to pro scout in 2011, and then elevated to pro scouting coordinator in 2012. He served as the vice president of football operations with the Philadelphia Eagles in 2019. He first worked under executive vice president of football operations Sashi Brown, followed by general manager John Dorsey. He helped lead all talent evaluation efforts for the club, including college prospects and NFL free agents. He was named the Browns executive vice president of football operations and general managers in 2020. That's Mr. Andrew Berry there. Top flight brain. Talk about Braintrust. This is a Harvard graduate that we're talking about, Benny. A Harvard graduate who did, if he got his master's, normally that's 6 years. He did it in 4 at Harvard.
And played ball.
And played corner, yeah.
and excelled playing ball. That's a special guy. That's a special guy right there. Now, I don't know if that means he can draft players, but he's damn intelligent guy.
It's interesting in terms of, we talk to our kids about, you're a good athlete, but get your education because, and a lot of, I know Christopher, they're looking at you like, you must be crazy. I'm great. I'm going, I'm going to get this and this is going to happen. And I'm looking and I'm like, a lot of these guys, they're all coaches and everything. And what did we just say about Zach? Zach was like the man and hit the pros and was like, boom. He hit his ceiling. It wasn't even happening. Not even in the CFL. I think that was Zach. I hope I'm not confusing.
Yeah, no, you're right.
In any event, head coach is Kevin Stefanski. We already came from Harvard. Now we're at the University of Pennsylvania, right? He was the special director of football operations there, all right? In 2006, he became the Minnesota Vikings assistant to the head coach. 2009 to 2013 with the Vikings, he was the assistant quarterback coach. He coached one Brett Favre, Case Keenum, and Sam Bradford. He coached in 2014. He was the tight ends coach for Kyle Rudolph. In 2016, he was the running back coach for Adrian Peterson, who
It's all in Minnesota.
yeah, this is all Minnesota, right? But Peterson missed 13 games, so he wound up coaching Jerick McKinnon and Matt Asiata. 2017 to 18, he was a quarterback coach and offensive coordinator for the final 3 games. And 2019, he became the offensive coordinator then. So he helped a lot of people, even one Kirk Cousins, who was named to the Pro Bowl. I didn't really put like a lot of the accolades for Pro Bowl because I don't really care about the Pro Bowl much. All pros, if you make all pro, then you get in this right here. So that's how that goes. Kevin's father, Ed, was a basketball standout at Penn and works in the front office of the Detroit Pistons. He has previously held executive positions with the NBA's New Jersey Nets, Philadelphia 76ers, Toronto Raptors, and the Memphis Grizzlies. He earned a bachelor's degree in communications from Penn and attended St. Joe's Prep in Philadelphia. Didn't know he was a St. Joe's boy. Did you know that?
No, I did not know that. I knew he was from the area, but I didn't know he went to St. Joe Prep.
Says he won 3 Ivy League titles, right, in 2000, 02, and 03, and went 10-0 in 2003 to become the first undefeated Penn team in a decade.
Yeah, Penn was good back in the day.
I'm here.
Not that long ago.
During Stefanski's tenure, the squad posted a 42-7 overall record and a 32-3 market Ivy League play. Ooh, Benny. He was getting it in. Holy mackerel. Okay. All right, Kevin. From around the way. I like him a little bit more now. Offensive coordinator, Alex Van Pelt. He was a 4-year starter at the University of Pittsburgh back in 89 to 92. He set Pittsburgh career records for most passing yards, 11,267 yards, completions 867, and attempts 1,503. So he was a little over 50% there and became only the 5th collegiate player to throw for 2,000 yards in 4 consecutive seasons. So Mr. Van Pelt was tossing the rock, Benny. He was getting it in. He was drafted by the Steelers in the 8th round of the 1993 NFL draft. The 8th round, Benny. Did they have a Mr. Irrelevant back then? How many rounds did you have to go down?
They probably didn't celebrate it. They probably didn't celebrate it or talk about it. The first time I ever heard the actual words Mr. Irrelevant wasn't that long ago. But again, we have a case of a guy that's a really good college quarterback that just can't cut it in the NFL. Happens all the time. Happens way more than you would think, actually.
Well, Benny, we're talking about Alex Van Pelt here now. He signed with Buffalo as a free agent in 95. He spent his entire 9-year career with the Bills, played in 31 games, had 11 starts, amassed 2,985 passing yards, and 16 touchdowns.
How many years?
95 to 2003. What's that, about 8 years?
8 years. He threw 16 touchdowns in 8 years?
Yep.
Okay.
Best job in the NFL, Benny. Best job. On his retirement as a player, he spent 2 seasons as the color analyst for the Bills before pursuing a career in coaching, starting out with the Frankfurt Galaxy quarterback coach. So here we back to Europe here.
Yep.
Okay. International. He then became Buffalo Bills. He was a volunteer offensive quality control coach. That's one way to get into the league. You can volunteer your way in, right? He went to the University of Buffalo then and became the quarterbacks and passing game coordinator before coming back to the Bills as the offensive quality control coach. So these guys will take a step move. He'll make a move to get yourself set up for the next level. 2008 and 9, he was the quarterback coach for the Bills. In 2009, he became the offensive coordinator. Now, this is where it gets a little weird. Let me see here. Because he got back. In the meantime, I see him with Tampa Bay, Green Bay, the Bengals, and then back to the Browns. So that's what happened. From the Bills, he became the quarterback's coach in Tampa Bay, quarterback Josh Freeman, the quarterback. He became a running back coach in Green Bay, Coach Eddie Lacy, quarterback coach in Green Bay with Aaron Rodgers, quarterback wide receiver coach in Green Bay, and again, quarterback coach. Cincinnati Bengals, he coached Andy Dalton, and then became the Cleveland Browns offensive coordinator. So he was throwing a rock, and then he became a coach, and he's coached a lot of quarterbacks. So it's be very interesting to see what he does. Now, he's been with the Browns, what did it say? 2020 became their offensive coordinator. So this will be, his third season there, second season with Deshaun as the quarterback. Now, speaking of a lot of experience here, one Jim Schwartz as the defensive coordinator. Now, I have to admit, you remember Jim Schwartz was the head coach for the Lions, and he had that altercation with my quarterback with the Niners at the end of the game. He didn't like the way he shook hands or something like that. Haven't been empathetic toward Jim Schwartz since then. But he became the graduate assistant coach at the University of Maryland back in 1989. Then he became a graduate assistant coach for Minnesota in 90 and 91 at the North Carolina Central University. He was the secondary coach, and in 92, linebackers coach at Colgate. So from 89 to 92, he did a lot of college coaching. Then in 93, he got hired by the Browns as a college pro scout. In 96, he got hired by the Ravens as a defensive assistant. In 99, by the Titans, same title. In 2000, he became the linebackers coach and third down package coach. I didn't know they had a third down package coach. Hey, Jim, come here. It's third down. What you got? Got a whole package for you. 2001 to 2008, he was the Tennessee Titans defensive coordinator. And then in 2009, he became the Detroit Lions head coach. In 2014, he became the Buffalo Bills defensive coordinator. 2016 to 20, he was with the Philadelphia Eagles as a defensive coordinator when they won the Super Bowl. And then in 2021, 2022, he went to the Titans as a senior defensive coordinator. And then 2023, this is his first year with the Cleveland Browns. There you go. Now, Bubba Ventrone. I had to look him up because he was kind of there and he was kind of wasn't, but Bubba's not his real name. But that's what they call him. Let me see here. Bubba, in 2005, he was a safety. He was undrafted free agent with the New England Patriots. 2007, he played safety with the Jets. 2007 and 8 with the Patriots. Safety with the Browns in 09 and 12, and safety with the Niners in 13 and 14. And I know a couple times I went and was looking at rosters for those years, and I didn't see him. But I guess he was like down the depth chart somewhere, Bubba. But that's not bad. He figured 2005 he came in as an undrafted free agent, and he was with the Niners to 2014. Was that 9-year career?
He was with them all that time?
No, he was with the Patriots. Then he went to the Jets. Then he went to
he bounced around.
Right. Then he went to the Browns. Then he went to the Niners. He bounced around, but that's from 05 to 14. So that's a nice bounce there. Good bouncing if you can get it.
Second best job in the NFL.
Yeah, you're probably right about that for sure. For sure. In 2015, he became a special teams assistant for the New England Patriots. And when they went to the Super Bowl, and what's that? XL, that's 42 and 151, and one Super Bowl 51. So he was on Super Bowl on the Patriots when they was hitting Super Bowl strides. In 2018, he went to the Colts as a special teams coordinator, and in 2023 joined the Browns as their assistant head coach slash special teams coordinator. So Bubba got assistant head coach. His brother Ross also played in the NFL from 2010 to 2016. So Bubba's got family all up in the NFL there. Bubble started. He got a 9-year safety career. That ain't bad, man. And then he took the coaching. I wonder if Corey ever thought about coaching. Our friend Corey Clement. He's only got about 6 years in, but if he keeps this up, he could be a special teams coordinator, slash head coach. I'm gonna call his dad. This is gonna blow his dad's mind that we're talking about Corey being a head coach. That's gonna blow his mind. Okay. Alex Van Pelt and Kevin Stefanski need to be in the head of quarterback Deshaun Watson. Now, I won't go all into Deshaun's troubles, but relative to his football history, he was always considered one of the top quarterbacks. Last year, he had 7 touchdowns, 5 INTs for 1,102 yards and a 79.09 quarterback rating. And we know he didn't play most of the year. So you're not going to hold his feet to the fire too much. But there is your NFL brain trust for the Cleveland Browns, Benny. What you got on this?
Well, like we said, the GM, Andrew Berry, very intelligent guy, knows football, was an ex-player, an Ivy Leaguer, did some great things in the classroom. So we expect their front office to be run well. Kevin Stefanski's been around, knows quarterbacks, knows offenses. I'll give him that. He's a pretty good head coach. Alex Van Pelt as an offensive coordinator. He has experience on his side. He has been in some good organizations, and he has worked with some really good quarterbacks. So I'll give him that. Defensive coordinator Jim Schwartz, I'm sorry, folks. I don't have too much good to say about this guy. As far as I'm concerned, he has never been a successful coordinator except for his years with the Eagles and his Super Bowl ring that he achieved with the Eagles. And even that season, the fans were trying to get rid of him. I don't like Jim Schwartz. I don't like his system. I don't like the way he runs his defenses. I don't know how successful he'll be with the Browns. Was he there last year? I think he was. And the Browns defense wasn't very good. So, that remains to be seen. Bubba's doing his thing. Deshaun Watson, I'm expecting to see a big rebound season this season when he gets a full training camp under his belt and gets to work with an actual receiving crew far better than the one that he had when he was in Houston. I believe this will be a really good year for Deshaun Watson. And I believe the Cleveland Browns will need to be dealt with in the division, but I still believe the Cincinnati Bengals are the class of the division.
Still believe the Bengals are the class of the division. Well, let's take a look, Benny, at the next team in the division. One, Baltimore Ravens. All right, let's look at this brain trust. You think they're the class of the division? Let's take a look here. I don't know, buddy. And I'm tough on one Lamar Jackson. If anybody's tough on him, it's me. So let's see what we got here. First off, we have GM Eric DeCosta. Again, lots of history in football. Back in '93, at Trinity College, he was he had a graduate fellowship. He coached the defensive line and linebackers while earning his master's degree in English. In '93, he was an intern coach for Trinity's wide receivers, right? Now, check this out. He had a chance encounter when he met someone who had completed an internship with Washington. Upon learning of that opportunity, he immediately sent resumes and letters to all 32 clubs and got rejections from 31 of 32, except for Washington. That same Washington hired him to serve as a training camp intern. Okay. Our kids got to find out about these jobs and these internships and stuff. It's amazing. 95 at Washington was his first NFL experience. He was a training camp intern, like I said, in Washington's personnel department. In 96, he landed the Ravens personnel internship during their first ever season. That's back when the Ravens first became Ravens after I guess they moved, and there was that whole scenario with Baltimore. He also accepted Baltimore's offer to the same day that he learned he had been placed on the University of Connecticut's law school wait list. So he was going to become an attorney. He was becoming an attorney. But they gave him an opportunity. In 96, they hired him as a personnel intern. In 98 to 2002, he was a Ravens Midwest area scout. He researched and analyzed draft day trades and evaluated free agent prospects for the personnel department. He worked with both college and pro scouting staffs and became the department's chief decision maker in 2019. Interesting. That's an interesting path to becoming the general manager. You know what I mean? Internships and, all of that volunteerism and things of that nature, and bam, took a while, but he had some opportunities in the meantime. Now, let's talk about this Harbaugh guy, John Harbaugh. Oh, my goodness. The Super Bowl winning head coach is in his 16th season at the Ravens helm. 16, man, I didn't know it had been that long. He was the 2019 NFL Coach of the Year, right? Led Baltimore to a playoff berth in 10 of his 15 seasons. And in 2012, captured the franchise second world championship. He was the Eagles secondary coach back in 2007. And then before that, he was the Eagles special teams coordinator. As the Eagles coach, he was voted the NFL Special Teams Coach of the Year, also named the Dallas Morning News Special Teams Coach of the Year. In just 4 seasons, he elevated the Eagles special teams from 29th to 1st in the NFL. Now, of course, you got to mention that he's from a football family. His father, Jack, is a 41-year coaching veteran who won the 2002 NCAA 1AA football.
Stanford, right?
Huh?
Stanford.
As a head coach at Western Kentucky.
Oh, I'm thinking of Elway's father. My bad. Go ahead.
Of course, his younger brother, Jim, was also a Ravens starting quarterback in 98, played 14 seasons in the NFL, and was the San Francisco 49ers head coach from 2011 to 2014. I think he's the one that had the run-in with Schwartz, that Schwartz guy. University of Michigan hired Jim as the head football coach in 2014 after his NFL campaign. It says, in the showdown that featured the first ever NFL game between head coaches who are brothers, John's Ravens bested Jim and my beloved 49ers 16-6 in the 2007 Thanksgiving primetime special. Ravens, of course, then topped the 49ers 34-31 in the Super Bowl. He has a sister, Joni, who's married to a longtime college basketball coach, Tom Crean, Crean. You familiar? Okay, you can speak on it. Harbaugh earned a degree in political science at Miami of Ohio, where he won the Football Scholar Athlete Award as a defensive back for the Red Hawks. He earned his master's in physical education at Western Michigan. So we got some highly educated football roots going on here. What do you? Okay, let me go. Oh, Benny, let me let you talk just a couple minutes about DeCosta and Harbaugh before we get to Todd Monken, because Todd Monken is sort of a special case here.
Well, DeCosta got that internship and turned it into gold. There's no better way to learn your way around an organization than being an intern. You know what I mean?
Okay.
You're running for this guy, you're running for that guy. People are showing you things. You get to ask questions of people that you normally wouldn't have access to. And he really cashed it in. So I got to give him all the kudos in the world for what he has done, what he's been through to get to where he is right now. John Harbaugh has proven himself to be a really great coach. He's got a Super Bowl ring. He beat the Niners in the game where the lights went out, right? In the Super Bowl, where the lights went out.
Yeah.
That was interesting.
Move along.
But no, well, I mean that's history. That was a historic moment in Super Bowl lore. But yeah, John Harbaugh, very well respected. His players love him. He's what you call a player's coach, and he's had a lot of success. In his playing days, however, he was a defensive back. So he never has tried to take a whole lot of credit for the offensive side of the ball for the Ravens. But the Ravens have turned out some really, really good defenses over the years, especially when Ray Lewis was around and Ed Reed.
Ooh.
But yeah, I got to give John Harbaugh all the credit in the world. Great coach, really great coach.
All right. So, like you said, he didn't try to act like he was a big-time offensive mind, okay? So he went and got himself some offensive coordinators. So we had the whole situation with Lamar Jackson's contract, and he finally got a contract. But they got a new offensive coordinator, one Todd Monken. Now, normally I don't do this when I look at these. Normally this is sort of, this is his experience, what he's done, where he's done it, et cetera. And I'm going to do that for Todd, but I'm going to do just a little bit more. I'm going to talk a little more about the scheme that he likes to run. So first off, let's see here. Todd Monken is entering his 35th season as a coaching and ninth at the pro level, including his fifth year coordinating NFL offenses. He coached at Georgia 2020 to 2022, helping produce back-to-back championship seasons. He last led NFL attacks for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers back in 2016 and for the Browns in 2019. He also coached the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receivers back in 2007 through 10. He had a 26-year collegiate coaching career, including a stint at Southern Mississippi as a head coach, duties as an offensive coordinator at Oklahoma State and Eastern Michigan. So he's been in college, he's been some pros, he's been working, he's been doing different things. When I looked up what his schemes were, they said Monken hunts for explosive plays, but his philosophy extends beyond just taking shots downfield. He loves to stress the defense from sideline to sideline, attacking all areas of the field to create more space for playmakers to utilize their talents. He likes his offense to dictate tempo, and going no huddle is one of his preferred tactics. Doesn't mean the Ravens will be exclusive or primarily no huddle, but it's likely to become a bigger part of their offensive DNA. He's coming with different kinds of tempos. Huddle, no huddle, real fast, control tempo, call plays at the line, don't call plays at the line. These are all things that you talk about and things that he brings to the table, and he's really very versatile, Harbaugh said. That's going to be very valuable for us. And he likes to use tight ends to create mismatches. He hopes to have a balanced offense that won't stray from having a strong run game. So there you go. That's the offensive coordinator for Lamar Jackson and that Baltimore Ravens offense. We'll talk a little bit more about that when you get, we'll switch it over to you. But let's jump to the DC one, Mike McDonald, 2014 to 2020. He was in Baltimore as a linebackers coach. 2018 to 20, he also coached the defensive backs. 2017, defensive assistant. 2015 to 16, defensive coaching intern. The 2021 season, he was Michigan's defensive coordinator. He had his first Big Ten title since 2004, an appearance in the college football playoff semifinals. He played an instrumental role in the standout performance of the number 2 overall pick, one Aiden Hutchinson, first-team All-American, Heisman Trophy finalist, who had a career-high single-season school record of 14 sacks. He rejoined the Ravens as a defensive coordinator in 2022. All right, and then we have special teams coach Chris Horton. 2013, he spent training camp as a coaching intern. In 2022, he joined more than 60 coaches and front office personnel participating in the NFL's inaugural Coach and Front Office Accelerator Program. He joined the team in 2014. I jumped over that. So yeah, he's been in that new program where they're trying to, train people and get them prepped, for coaching and front office jobs. He played safety, was the UCLA Bruins, earning the Sporting News First Team All-American, 2007, First Team All Pac-10, Second Team All Pac-10 honors in 2006. He earned a 10-3 record in 2012 to 13 with UCLA, defeated Virginia Tech in the Sun Bowl 42-12. He joined his alma mater as a quality control coach, assisting with both the defense and the special teams under head coach Jim Mara Jr. Prior to coaching, he played safety for 3 NFL seasons with Washington after being selected in the 7th round of the 2008 NFL Draft. So Chris was a baller, a safety. So now Lamar Jackson inherits, and is that right? Inherits a offense coordinator one, Todd Monken, who's got some ideas about how to use space on a football field. I like that time and space thing. That sounds very Madden-like in the way you run your offense, Sometimes you're hurrying up, sometimes you slow up. You use the clock wisely, hopefully. Lamar Jackson got hurt last year, but he still wound up with 17 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 2,242 yards for a 91.07 passer rating. So he's back. He's happy. He's got a contract. He's got a new offensive coordinator. Woo! You sure you want the Ravens, Benny? Excuse me, the Bengals? You sure you want the Bengals?
I'm positive. 100%.
Class of the league, you said?
100%. First of all, let me see. We talked about Harbaugh. We talked about DeCosta. So Todd Monken is going to be a really good addition to this team. I believe that Todd Monken is going to unlock Lamar Jackson and turn him back into, if not as good as he was his MVP season, darn near it, or possibly even better. I admire his work that he did with the University of Georgia extremely. That team was a juggernaut. We were just starting to think that Nick Saban would have Alabama ruling college football for years to come. And this guy comes in with Georgia and takes an offense that has a mediocre quarterback at best, Stetson Bennett.
That's it.
A guy that probably got drafted in the 6th or 7th round. If you look him up real fast, I don't even know what team he's on now, but he did get drafted. Okay. But they took a guy like that and won national championships with him because their offense was so diverse. Not to mention they were stacked with stud ball players on both sides of the ball. But yeah, Todd Monken has got a pretty good offensive mind and will work well with Lamar Jackson. Mike McDonald obviously is a pretty young guy. He's probably the youngest guy on the staff. Hasn't been around that long, but did work his way up from position coach to DC. So I got to give him kudos for that. Chris Horton, yeah, ex-player, not a great player, but a good player. Did have a short NFL career and did go through that program, which helped him a lot, I'm sure, and puts him on track to have a nice long coaching career in the NFL. Lamar Jackson, I believe, will have a great comeback season this year. I'm rooting for him. I really like Lamar Jackson. I think that him and Monken are going to get along just fine. In fact, he has nothing but great things to say about Monken lately and the offense. And he specifically spoke of his freedom to audible. Mm-hmm. So when an offensive coordinator starts letting you have freedom to audible this early before training camp, the real training camp even starts, that tells me that Lamar is really learning his offense really quickly. He believes in giving the quarterback the freedom to audible. Lamar would love to have the freedom to audible. And this looks like a marriage made in heaven for sure between Monken and Jackson. I expect their offense to really take off. But I still believe the Cincinnati Bengals are the class of the division.
Still going with those Bengals, riding the Bengals. Well, first of all, Benny, your boy Stetson Bennett has a job with the LA Rams.
Okay.
Best job in the NFL.
Well, that's not a job you want when you get drafted your first year. That's bull.
Well, okay. If you say
you
so.
Come out of college and get drafted in the NFL, you want to play. You want to play. You don't want you don't want to be a backup. That's ridiculous.
What's that?
I believe he got drafted in the 6th or 7th round, if not later.
All right.
I didn't think he was going to get drafted at all, to tell you the truth. There's a ton. I could make you a list long as all heck of great college quarterbacks who won national championships and put up tremendous numbers that never made it in the NFL.
Yeah, well, and a lot of those guys was Heisman Trophy winners.
Some of them too, yes.
That was almost the kiss of death. That was as bad as a Madden curse.
Well, like I said, great. Just because you're a great college player does not mean you'll be a great professional player.
So true, so true. All right, Benny. Well, one more team to go here in the NFC North. Another chance for you to jump off the Bengals wagon and get on the Steelers bandwagon, Benny. Come on now.
For what?
Come on, Benny. All right, let's see what we got here. First of all, you have your general manager is one Omar Khan. So Omar Khan, with a name like Omar Khan, you're like, okay, where is this guy from? Well, his mother is a native of Honduras and his father is from India. Okay. As a student, he worked with the Tulane football team as an undergraduate assistant. He earned a degree in sports management with a minor in business administration in 3.5 years. Another one of those guys who finished quickly. In 97, he was hired by the Saints in their football operations department. He had served as a scouting and personnel intern with the Saints while he was still a student at Tulane, and served with them for 4 years. So he was, again, this word intern, you hear this throughout this conversation. In 2001, he was hired by the Steelers to serve as their football operations coordinator in their football operations and player personnel department. He helped to assemble 2 Super Bowl winners. Along with GM Kevin Colbert, in 20 seasons, they've drafted and assigned and extended over 30 Pro Bowlers. In 2011, he was promoted to Director of Football Administration. 2016, promoted to Vice President of Football and Business Administration. 22, he was hired as the team's new general manager and successor to Kevin Colbert. So Omar Khan doesn't look as if he played a lick of football, but he knew he was smart enough to get with the Tulane football team as an assistant while he was still a student and turn that into a general management team with one of the top teams in terms of numbers of Super Bowls. Indiana, actually, I think the Steelers still have the record. Did the Patriots pass six Super Bowls, or are they tied now for 6 Super Bowls? I forget.
I think it's tied.
Okay, so it's the Steelers and the Patriots then with 6 Super Bowls. So that's Omar Khan. Now, head coach Mike Tomlin graduated from the College of William and Mary with a sociology degree back in 95. He's a member of Kappa Alpha Psi fraternity. He's a wide receiver, a second team All Yankee Conference selection in 94. I'm going to laugh. All Yankee Conference in 94. As a wide receiver coach in 95 at Virginia Military, he worked under Coach Bill Stewart. Okay, so he played a little bit. 95, he became a coach. 96, as a graduate assistant at the University of Memphis, he worked with the defensive backs and special teams. He was hired by Arkansas State University in 97 to coach their backs, defensive backs. He stayed there for a couple seasons and then went to coach the backs at the University of Cincinnati. He became a defensive backs coach for Tampa Bay in 2001 under head coach Tony Dungy, where he first learned the Tampa 2 defense.
Yes, sir.
He was selected by Vikings head coach Brad Childress to be his defensive coordinator in 2006, joined the Steelers in 2007. He is the 10th was the 10th African-American head coach in NFL history. He has 10 playoff runs, 7 division titles, 3 AFC championship games, 2 Super Bowl appearances, and a title in Super Bowl, what's that, XL, that's 43. So that's Mike Tomlin. And he still doesn't have a losing season, right? I think after this year, he still didn't.
Correct.
Okay, all right. There we go. Now, OC Mike O'Canada. No, it's not O'Canada, it's Canada. Couldn't help it.
Thought you were gonna break that into the song.
Oh, Canada. It was funny, talking to the guy who went to look at I told you we buying a condo, right?
Yeah.
So went to talk to the guy there, and his brother had just moved back to Philly from Canada. He was living up in Canada, you know. He was in what did he say? I think he said it was Ontario. I was like, is it cold up there? He's like, same weather we y'all got. I looked it up on my phone. It was 64 degrees, just like here, pretty much.
Yep.
You know, I was like, you mean it wasn't like Alaska? You know, everything wasn't frozen, tundra. He's like, no. As a matter of fact, where he was, and he said it was Saint something. He told me where it was. He said it was the last stop on the Underground Railroad. So up in Canada. Yeah, yeah. Anywho, Mr. Canada was an offensive coordinator and quarterbacks coach at Maryland, LSU, Pittsburgh, North Carolina State, Wisconsin, Northern Illinois, Butler, and Indiana. So in a nutshell, he's been around. 2020, he was hired by the Steelers as their quarterback coach and then promoted in 2021 to offensive coordinator. He likes to run zone schemes almost exclusively. We're doing the scheme thing again here. He likes to run what they call split zone with jet motions and things of that nature. He likes the pistol. I don't see him putting Mr. Pickett in the pistol, but hey, they did it with Peyton Manning, so anything's possible. It's like a mini shotgun. Some of them just look at it like a mini shotgun. So we're looking for a little bit of creativity from Mr. Canada and what he likes to run there. Now, Mr. Terrell Austin. His coaching career began as a graduate assistant at Penn State, Benny. Your spot. Back in 91 and 92. He was a defensive backs coach at Wake Forest in 93 to 95. Syracuse through 96 to 98, Michigan 99 and 2002. He played for the Montreal Machine of the World League of American Football in 1991. Early. After attending training camps with the Washington football team and the Hamilton Tiger Cats in the CFL. He's a native of Sharon, Pennsylvania. Now, and let's see here. 2010, he was at the helm of the University of Florida's defense because he was their coordinator. 2011 to 13, he was a secondary coach for the Ravens when they won the 2012 championship. He was a defensive backs coach for a combined 10 years with 3 NFL teams. That would be the Seahawks, the Cardinals, and the Ravens. He served as a defensive coordinator for the Detroit Lions in 2014 to 2017 for a 1-year stint in the same role with the Bengals. So he's been around. He's been around right here, Mr. Austin. And again, graduate assistant, go to college, get connected, played a little football over in Europe, and went to the training camp. So if he was in Washington and the CFL, he got cut from both of those situations. But now he is the defensive coordinator for the Pittsburgh Steelers. And finally, as a coach, Danny Smith. Born and raised in Pittsburgh, coached at Central Catholic. He helped tutor one Dan Marino. He was the Washington football team special team coordinator from 04 to 12. His 11th season at the Steelers as a special teams coordinator. He did spend some time with the Bills, the Lions, and he was a defensive backs and special team coach for the Eagles in 95 through 98. Back in 87, 94, he was a coach at Georgia Tech. His first college coaching career came as a graduate assistant at his alma mater. He was a defensive graduate assistant coach at Clemson, William & Mary, the Citadel, the military college of South Carolina. So he's been around one Danny Smith, and now he's a special teams coordinator for the Steelers. Steelers quarterback. So Matt Canada is putting all this in place to support one Kenny Pickett. Kenny Pickett started last year for the first year, right? This was his first year starting last year, right? So he had 7 TDs, 9 interceptions. He threw for 2,404 yards and had a 76.68 quarterback rating. So we have some work to do if the Steelers are going to get back in the limelight here. But that's your brain trust. You've got some really smart people with a lot of experience. You might have that 100 years of experience between these 5 coaches there, Benny. I didn't add it up, but that's a lot of experience when you start to look at it, especially when you add in college coaching time. And now all of that's being poured into one Kenny Pickett. So what do you think about the Steelers?
Well, I think it's the interesting thing about Omar Khan is that he seemed to kind of focus on being a front office type in sports early on with that move that he made at Tulane. You don't always see that. Mike Tomlin is a very highly respected head coach in the NFL, even by players and other executives that have never been part of the Steelers organization. They just like the way this guy rolls. You know what I'm saying? And again, he has never had a losing season. And that is something to be extremely proud about. I know the players made that a big deal last season when it looked like they were moving toward having his first losing season, and they were able to pull it out. Matt Canada, good offensive coordinator, been around, been in some good organizations. How he meshes with Kenny Pickett is going to be extremely important, and how Pickett picks up his system and masters it is going to be extremely important, because Kenny Pickett, although he did show some flashes last season, is going to have a whole season under his belt before I can even really assess him as a starting NFL quarterback. I believe he will be able to do it. I believe he will hold on to the position, and I believe that he will do well. But how well he does will depend on how well he masters his system and the organization begins to build around him. Terrell Austin's been around quite a while. He's been a position coach on defenses, and he's been a defensive coordinator for several teams, the Lions, the Bengals, and now the Steelers. Was a position coach for the Cardinals and the Ravens, like you said, and the Seahawks, and he's got college experience too. So you got a heck of a lot of experience with Terrell Austin as your defensive coordinator. That is a plus for the Steelers defense. What they're going to need to do is beef up the defense player-wise, because if they can give this guy some players, he can build himself a nice defense here. Danny Smith, older gentleman, been around, been in a lot of different organizations, lots of experience. And of course, like I said, Kenny Pickett is going to have to prove that he can carry an organization at the quarterback position. This is his big chance to start from training camp on and show what he can do for the future of the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Yeah, but I'm thinking about the mobility aspect of Kenny Pickett. Now, early on, I called him Kenny the fake slide guy, Wicked Pickett, because he did the fake slide when he was in college. It worked great, and he ran it right into the end zone. I started thinking, well, he was running when he did the fake slide. So I don't know what his mobility is, but
fairly elusive. He's not fast, but he can move.
Because they're talking about jet motions and pistols and stuff like that, and again, just the mindset of the NFL is moving toward that mobile quarterback, concepts. So it'll be interesting to see what Matt Canada does relative to Kenny, if he mainly keeps him in the pocket, or what he does if he gets a little more extravagant with the things that he wants Kenny Pickett to do. So we'll have to see about that. But that completes. I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, putting him in the pistol allows them to run the jet motion. Jet motion is for the wide receivers. So being in the pistol allows you to run jet motion pretty flawlessly if you're a good ball handler like Lamar is. I haven't really studied Kenny Pickett as a ball handler, but like I said, he should be starting from day one. this year, seeing as how he'll be the quarterback of the future for the Steelers, and we'll have to check him out, see how well he works.
All righty. Well, there you go. Benny, that wraps up the AFC North. Braintrust, we've looked at the Ravens, the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Browns. You're sticking with the Bengals as your replacement team for the Bills in the AFC?
I like the Bengals to win this division. I like the Baltimore Ravens to give them a run for their money, but to come in second. I like the Browns over the Steelers.
Browns over the Steelers.
In that order.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. All right. Wrapping up the AFC North, Benny. Next week, how about the NFC North? A lot of talk coming out of the NFC North. Bears talking about the Packers. One Bear talking about he wish
what? Wait. Hold on. Before you say what you're going to say, please don't tell me the Bears are getting hyped because Aaron Rodgers is not there no more and they think they can get revenge on the Packers.
Not just that, he literally said he wished that Aaron had hung around one more year so he could get to him.
Oh, my God. Remember the game where he scored and he said, I own you.
Yes, well, everybody
haven't forgotten that, huh?
Yeah, they didn't like that at all. They
man.
So
Jordan Love's going to have to pay for that one.
Yeah, he sure is, Benny. No doubt about it. Jordan is going to have to pay for that. And it's coming up soon. It's coming up soon. All right, real quick, Benny, we're going to jump over to our Facebook page as we wrap up with a few good topics here. You know, Warren Sapp is one of the funnier guys. He always is. I don't know. I said Coach Sapp should be interesting, but he's on that commander field helping out with the Commanders. Maybe he can help that rush a little bit and get Chase Young going. You think?
Well, I think what he's kind of like a guest coach because he did the same thing with the Commanders last season. He came in, he worked on training camp, but he wasn't actually on the staff. So this kind of looks like the same thing. But yeah, sure, he could help Chase Young.
Maybe he's going to be an intern. He watches our show and be like, damn, everybody became an intern and now they're a coordinator.
I don't know
it's
about
like
that.
A path.
I don't know if Warren Sapp even wants to be on a staff.
Yeah.
I think he likes where he's at right now.
Look, let me tell you, he made enough money. He don't need to work anywhere. And again, go back and look at the previous show. This is the picture from when we did the NFC East. And as you can see there, you got the Cowboys. Apparently, Eric Bieniemy, speaking of the Commanders, is having a positive effect. And he's straightening out some of these guys and telling them, about the smaller things that they're not getting right. And he's not letting those details go by. So apparently they like this additional level of concentration and focus that's coming out of their offensive coordinator. So it's going to be interesting. Your Giants, we're going to have to go in there and try to figure out what that guy's going to be doing. You think he's going to do any of those special goal line dances that
no
Chiefs was?
No.
You don't think so?
No.
Everybody gets up to the line of scrimmage and they do wing around the rosy for a couple minutes, then run up to the line of scrimmage, hand the ball off into a basic dive play, which generally that's all it was a dive play in the first place.
No.
None of that. So okay, all right, all right. Well, we'll see how he puts his own personal stamp on it then. Gee, me Christmas. CFL preseason is over, Benny. Week 1 is in effect. We posted this 4 days ago, so we'll be able to watch a little CFL ball. Again, CFL cracks me up with the motion, the receiver motion, where they got 3 guys that back up 10 yards and then come running full speed. And it's interesting watching them because I guess there has to be a synchronization between the snap and when those guys cross the
Absolutely.
line of scrimmage.
Just like an arena.
Okay. Yeah, right. Arena. I haven't watched a lot of arena, but yeah, they do that same type of stuff. So that means some guys is coming off the line of scrimmage in full stride. you know. So CFL football, in effect, a little something to watch while we wait for the NFL to get going. We have a link here, no picture, but it talks about why there are only 3 downs in Canadian football versus 4 downs in the NFL. Some real good football history in that article. We said we were going to talk about the USFL this week, Benny, but although we have just completed week 9 and we're going into week 10, there's it says here with one, and this is from the article, with 1 week left in the regular season, the USFL is as wide open as ever. Only one team has clinched a playoff berth, and that is your Birmingham Stallions. And none of the other 7 teams have been eliminated from postseason contention. I believe the North Division, the records by far are better than in the South Division. And so, but of course, just like with the XFL, because they're in a different division, they might have a worse record, but they'll make it over a team that had a better record in the other division. And then what do we get in the XFL? But a surprise when that team from the worst division with the worst record wound up winning the championship. Any given Sunday or Thursday in their case, or whatever day those guys play. But it depends, like you said, how good a football are you playing come playoff championship time? That's the real question. You could be stinging up the place weeks 1 through 4, but if you get back in stride and you find yourself, and your team gets it going, you could be a championship. So for right now, it's just the Birmingham Stallions.
Yeah, the Birmingham Stallions, who are actually the defending champions. And in the other division, it looks like it's going to be between our Philadelphia Stars and the New Jersey Generals. I doubt that anybody in the South will be able to overcome the Birmingham Stallions. But anything is possible, obviously. But like you said, the records kind of dictate that the Stallions are the class of that division. It's very close in the North. But I believe it'll come down to between the Stars and the Generals. And I think, if I remember correctly, the Stars just lost to the Generals just this past weekend. But I'm sure they'll meet again in the playoffs, and we'll see what's going on there. But I like to root for the Stars. Why not? Philadelphia team. Give them a shot. They did make it to the championship last year, but they lost to the Stallions. So if they can get back there again, they have a chance of revenge.
All right. There you go. Well, Benny, that wraps up the programmed portion of our show. Any last words?
Dude, we got to talk about this Buffalo Bills thing, man. Bro, I'm telling you, that Madden curse is real, bro. This is crazy. Now, well, I shouldn't say the Madden curse. We'll save that for if something else goes awry. But this early on, this is a big mystery right now, what's going on with Stephon Diggs and the Buffalo Bills. It's been talked about on every single sports talk show, television, and radio and podcast. For some reason, there's a rift between Stefon Diggs and either the Buffalo Bills organization as a whole or certain members of the Buffalo Bills organization. If I try to narrow it down from what I've heard and seen or heard talked about to individuals, I would have to say it's between Stefon Diggs, Josh Allen, and the head coach, McDermott. Nobody else seems to have too much to talk about. Now, obviously, the head coach is going to say something. The crazy thing, everybody's looking at him funny, though, because on the first day of the mandatory minicamp, he did a press conference, McDermott, and said, Stefon Diggs is not here. I don't know where he is. And I am very concerned. He said it twice. Very concerned that he's not here. When I saw Adam Schefter put that statement out on Facebook, it was exactly 1 hour later that Stefon Diggs' agent said he is there, he's in Buffalo, and he plans to take part in the entire mandatory minicamp. Then today comes, he shows up, but he only does individual drills. He doesn't do any team drills. And then he has a conversation one-on-one with the head coach, who then says he excused him from the rest of the training camp and then canceled the rest of the training camp. What the heck is going on? Now, speculation is there's two things that people remember from last season. They remember the playoff game when Buffalo pretty much got beat down by Cincinnati. And Stefon Diggs, I remember the game because it was snowing, was seen on the sidelines yelling at Josh Allen. And he wasn't getting used like he thought he was supposed to get used. But I saw some stats from the first half of last season and the second half of last season, and his numbers dropped off a cliff. His catches, his yardage, his touchdowns, everything dropped in the back end of last season. Some people are speculating that that's his problem. My problem with that is I think that's corny that you let 4 months practically go by between that and now, and you stewed on it and never talked to anybody about it. And now you're bringing it up. If in fact that's what it is, I don't know.
There's a bit of a diva with him anyway.
Oh, absolutely.
There's no doubt.
Absolutely. But you cannot deny, if you look at those numbers, he was smoking like the first 9 or 10 games. And then his numbers dropped off completely.
Yeah. My challenge with that, number one, if you're hollering at Josh Allen isn't the offensive coordinator. He's not calling the plays.
Right.
Offenses change when the weather changes. All of a sudden, we ain't throwing it around the yard like we was. And all of a sudden now we're running the ball. We're playing a little more conservative. We're throwing it to the tight end because it's 20 degrees below zero. And it's not even December yet up there in Buffalo. And so the game changes. They're not in a dome like he was when he was with the Vikings. So I think that, that could have an impact. Just one option, just one possibility.
We're talking about 7 games. We're not talking about 2 games. We're talking about 7 weeks. The weather wasn't terrible for all 7 weeks.
Well, I'm not saying it necessarily was, but I'm just wondering if they changed
And you don't change a
approach.
winning, and
You
you
know,
don't change a winning game plan.
well,
If
I
you
think they
do
were
change
still
a
win.
winning
They were
game,
still winning late into the season. It wasn't like they stopped winning, or did they? You tell me. You're the Bills guy. I thought they were still winning. I mean, they still made it to the playoffs, right?
yeah, they made it to the playoffs,
They were a
but
playoff team.
they were sputtering.
And do you think that's more Josh Allen or offensive play?
No, no. Hey, look, I'm not going to defend him for yelling at Josh Allen. I can't do that. But Josh Allen's right there on the sideline sitting on the bench with him. The ball goes from Josh Allen's hand to Stephon Diggs' hands. Okay. He's like, dude, I don't care what he calls. I'm him. That's his favorite saying. I'm him. Why are you not throwing me the ball?
I'm him, with a capital H.
That's yes.
All right. The mystery will continue. This is one of those mysteries. There's a couple mysteries out there. One of the mysteries is like what really happened to Jamie Foxx. Is he, he's 1 minute he's talking about he's going to die, and then nobody just what the heck happened to him, but yet he's still in a cartoon narration. So it's a few of these mysteries floating around. We'll have to keep an eye on this. But yeah, Mr. Stephon Diggs does have a bit of diva in him. So it doesn't surprise me that he has some level of a complaint going on if things aren't going right. So we'll keep an eye on that. And you may have had a timely move from the Bills to the Bengals. We shall see. We shall see.
All I know is when the head coach has a press conference one day and says, I'm very concerned about the fact that he's not here. When he actually is there, and then comes back the next day when he dresses, comes on the field, doesn't have him do team drills. He's not injured. There's nothing wrong with him. Why is he doing individual drills instead of team drills? Individual drills are for guys coming off injury or guys that are injured. He didn't force him to do team drills like he should have, and then has a long conversation with him, tells him, I'm sorry, didn't tell him. Diggs and him came to an understanding that perhaps he needed time away from the team. Something's going on, man. This ain't just on Diggs. There's some guilt to be handed out to other people on this team. He excused him from the practice and from the rest of the minicamp. You don't have to come back. Go take some time. I now understand why you're mad. That's the way I'm reading. So you go on and chill out, and we'll see you in July when training camp starts. And then, oh, by the way, you know what? Before anything else gets crazy, forget this mandatory minicamp. Cancel the whole thing. Come on, man. Teams don't do that. Teams don't do that. And you don't let one player disrupt your whole shit. Something's going on.
All right. Well, we're gonna follow this up, Benny. We're gonna take a look and see if we can check into this mystery of what's going on with the Buffalo Bills, Stephon Diggs, and this whole cancellation of mandatory mini camp. And again, interesting that the only other team to do it is in that same division, and that is the Jets, Jets. The only team I had any family that ever played for. So that's all I got. You got anything else?
Yeah, I got one more rant.
Uh-oh.
I spoke on this, I think it was last week when we were talking about how I like the Bills, and then I changed to the Bengals. There's certain things as a sports fan you should not do. This is just me talking. Whoever watches this video and thinks I'm talking about them, understand, this is just me talking. This is America. It's a free country. You can do whatever you want. Okay? But I think it's real corny to be a fan, call yourself a true fan of a particular franchise, and then start kissing the butt of another franchise. That's corny, okay? People who call themselves Sixers fans, who felt like Embiid should have been the MVP over his main competitor for the title, Jokovic. He gets the MVP. They're ecstatic. Then the team loses, and the Denver Nuggets go on to win the NBA championship. Now, all of a sudden, I'm seeing Sixers fans bowing down to Jokic. Oh, my God. Oh, he's so great. Oh, he's this, he's that. Oh, Embiid can't do this, can't do that. Come on, man. Come on. I picked the Nuggets to win in 5. Whoopee.
So did all of Vegas.
You picked the Nuggets to win in 5, and they actually did. So now you're the greatest prognosticator that ever freaking lived. Come on, man. Stop. If you said it, if you typed it, and people read it, they know you did it. You don't have to rejoice over it. Guess what? I picked the Vegas Golden Knights to beat the Florida Panthers for the Stanley Cup in 5, and they did it. But if y'all had to make this,
did you have a fantasy? You have a fantasy on that?
I had fantasy. I play fantasy hockey.
Oh my goodness, you're so crazy.
I won 2 chips in fantasy hockey, and I don't know a doggone thing about hockey, but I know how to play fantasy. All you got to do is watch the NFL and NHL network. But the bottom line is, I did pick them to win in 5, and they did, in fact, win in 5 by a blowout last night, and they won the Stanley Cup. But I'm not rejoicing over it because my favorite hockey team is the New York Rangers, who got beat in the playoffs. But I could see that the Vegas Knights, who were just a franchise, a new team, and what do you call it? Expansion team,
right?
7 years ago, and their owner said, "Oh, we're going to be good. We'll probably win the Stanley Cup in 6 years," and they freaking did it. What the hell? I picked that, but I'm not on Facebook. Vegas Knights, because who cares?
Yeah, I know. You can't, Anyway, I understand what you're saying, and I think it's hilarious because
if I won money,
I saw it before you saw it.
Yeah, if I picked the Nuggets and I bet $1,000 and I won, I'm putting all kind of memes and you know what I'm saying? But if I don't gamble and nobody bet against me and nobody said, "What? Nuggets in 5, you're crazy."
No. If everybody said Nuggets in 5, yeah, that's probably what's going to happen. Then you're not standing out from the crowd at all. You're right in the crowd.
You're a little bit too happy.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. I'm
sure I get a phone call tomorrow.
Yeah, well, maybe you will. But that depends on if they're focusing and get to watch the show here. So you get to know what's going on. I know. I told one of our friends, I said, "Well, we can say whatever we want about you because you don't watch."
Yeah, right. You'll never know.
What? You'll never know.
You'll never know.
Part of the fun. All right, Benny.
All right, bro.
Any more rants up in that head of yours? Any more rants?
No, I'm good now.
You good, sure? You sure now?
I'm good. I feel good now. All that's off my chest.
All right. Well, I'm gonna go play with my grandson, my Bubba, and start editing this film.
Okay.
Peace.
I'm gonna finish playing with this.
Oh my goodness. Looks good to me.
Take it easy, bro.
All
I'll
right.
talk to you.